The Missing Migrant Project seeks to organize all missing persons reports relevant to the U.S.-Mexico border. Every time we hear the type of language being used to discuss the border, this amping up of Border Patrol presence and surveillance and technology and equipment and militarization, all we see is a border where we see more death, more skeletons, more separated families, more families looking for someone in the desert. 12 years later, we've seen that they were not deterred, and they went through the desert areas in very high numbers, and they died in very high numbers. Are these deaths really acceptable to us? Just because they're so-called illegals, are we really willing to accept hundreds of deaths along the border each year? What we say when we're talking about border security and the way that it's being discussed now comes with a certain acceptable collateral damage. Since when have you heard anybody in Washington, D.C. talking about the bodies on the border? It's not even on the radar. There's this sense that because they broke the law initially, that they somehow deserved it.
Joining us are the directors of the Place at the Table, Lori Silverbush and Christy Jacobson. Good morning to you both. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Let's start with this whole idea that we have an obesity problem in this country. If anything, everybody thinks we're too fat. So how are so many people undernourished?
Well, it's surprising. It was surprising to us to learn that obesity can often be a symptom of malnourishment. Mm-hmm. When you don't have enough calories, enough money to purchase healthy food, you're going to get whatever calories you can for your family, and often the cheapest food has the most calories, and it's junk food. It doesn't have any real nutritional content, so you will get those calories and end up undernourished, but possibly obese.
It's not really feeding you.
Yeah, not really.
Exactly.
The film, you talk about food deserts.
Yeah.
And these are places literally you can't get the right kinds of things to eat?
Yeah, throughout the country there are neighborhoods and regions where people don't have access to fresh fruits or vegetables. They either have to travel great distances, which can be challenging with gas prices, or getting transportation. Even in urban centers, we found one of our characters had to take 2 buses and then a long, long walk, a round trip of over 2 hours, sometimes 3 if there was traffic, just to get some fresh fruit or vegetables on the table, and that was when she could afford it. So it's a real problem. And typically in this country, we shake our fingers and wag our fingers at people and say, you're making bad choices, you're eating the wrong foods. But is it really a choice when you can't even get to the right food?
Right.
Mm-hmm. When people are watching at home, what are some of the things that we could do about this? How to make it better? I mean, there's tons of fundraisers, there's all those kind of things, but how could we dig deeper to make it better?
You know, I'm glad you asked that because, as you said, I'm married to a chef, and I've watched for 30 years as he and you and so many people in your industry have been doing one charity fundraiser after another. You have never raised more money for charity than at this moment in time, and we've never had more hunger than at this moment in time. So if charity were the answer, I think we would have fixed it. Back in 1968, there was a documentary on CBS, and it showed starvation conditions in this country, and Americans said, are you kidding me? Not in my country. And they literally picked up the phones en masse, called their Congress people, and within 2 weeks, programs were put into place and adequately funded that literally wiped out hunger in this country by the end of the 70s.
Oh my goodness.
And then starting in the 80s, the conversation changed again to that of takers and handouts and welfare queens. And we got back here to a place where now 50 million Americans may not know how they're going to get food on the table for their kids. So I think this is an issue that affects all of us, and we all can do something to fix it very easily. Pick up the phone and call your congresspeople. Believe it or not, it works.
Why nobody can get no help down here for these people, bro? They got children out here. They got pregnant women out here. They won't even bring water. They won't bring food. We gotta go steal water to drink to survive out here.
We need help, sir. We really do. We need help. They're not doing nothing. They're not telling us nothing. They're not doing nothing. We've been out looking at these old people. They're out here without their medication. They're in wheelchairs. We need help, sir. We really need help.
They are just left behind. There's nothing offered to them. No water, no ice, no sea rations, nothing for the last 4 days.
Are you telling me that there is no police in the area, there's no National Guard in the area?
Listen, I don't want to sound negative against anybody or any official, but according to them and what I saw, they left and they're there on their own. There's no police, there's no authority. To them, I said, how are you surviving in the last 4 days? How are you feeding your baby? And the one father said, I had to do what I have to do. I had to go into stores. I had to steal milk, water, ice, whatever I can get to feed my babies because they're not going to die on me. They're stealing not because they're looting. It's a different type of looting that you're seeing here. There were early looters about shoes in the stores. These people now are about survivors. These are the families who listened to the authorities, who followed direction, who believed in the government, the local government system to go and do what they're supposed to do, and they followed directions. They walked miles, floodwaters up to their chest for a whole day, and they followed direction. These are law-abiding citizens who have been left behind. They did everything they were told, and you would never imagine what you saw in the convention center in New Orleans. The bathrooms, the way the bathrooms were.
Tell me about the sanitation.
No food for these folks.
Tell me about
the sanitation was unbelievable. The stench in there, it was unbelievable. Dead people around the walls of the convention center, laying in the middle of the street in their dying chairs where they died, right there in their lawn chair. They were just covered up in their wheelchair, covered up, laying there for dead. Babies, 2 babies dehydrated and died. I just tell you, I couldn't take it.
I know, we saw
it. It was unbelievable.